Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. Now we have a keynote address on building a safe, secure, and resilient cyber ecosystem in India by Mr. G.Narendra Nath, Joint Secretary, Cyber, National Security Council Secretariat, Government of India. A very warm welcome, Mr. Nath.
Good morning, everybody, and I would like to thank ET for providing me an opportunity for sharing my thoughts and the thoughts of my organization uh, in this National Workflow Summit in the session on building a safe, secure, and resilient cyber ecosystem in India. From the perch that I have the privilege of working at the National Security Council Secretariat, where we have a national view of what's happening in the security area and specifically in the cybersecurity area, which I deal with. There's a lot of things that's happening nowadays. And I find that this particular event that you talked of, the National Workflow Summit, is topical, especially because of, the pandemic and the change in the way work is carried out and business is carried out. What the pandemic has done, the Digital India program had been announced by the government, and we are growing around ahead with that Digital India program. What the pandemic has done is to accelerate the digitalization. And whenever you accelerate, you find that there are hiccups and there are, concerns about how actually the thing is rolling out. But one thing good, and I think that's been talked about in most forums and also that's been observed about, is that both the industry and the government have, been up to the mark in adjusting to the new situation. And they have been resilient in how they have, addressed the needs of the pandemic and the way of working during the pandemic. There were new challenges. We had people working from cloistered environments with firewalls, protected behind firewalls. And suddenly you find that they had to start working from home and they had to carry the device at home. And they had to actually re-architect how the workflows and how the infrastructure is also protected. There were many sleepless nights during that time last year. But I found that one is the infrastructure, there was a heavy increase in traffic during that time in terms of the emails that were being sent and the messages that were being sent, the VC conferences that were being held. There was a huge amount of increase in traffic. The networks really held up. And I think kudos go to both MeitY and the Department of Telecom for ensuring that the networks took care of that. And kudos also go to the private sector for the way they actually handle the situation. I've been privy to some of the discussions that took place. The Data Security Council of India, had weekly meetings that they had with the CISOs and CTOs of private sector organizations, where we used to discuss about, what are the challenges that each of us and each of the industry participants were facing. And, there was a pre-exchange of, best practices that they were tried out by each of them and how they succeeded and what failed and what worked. And that actually helped in the industry, really take care of the situation. So I think the amount of collaboration that was there, the cooperation that was there, the human element of it, it was really heartwarming that was to see there. But, there are some new challenges that have come. One, security is one important aspect of that. But of course, there are challenges like regarding, this remote working has actually enhanced the digital divide in terms of, because of access issues that are there, and digital inclusion was also an issue. So I think these aspects regarding, providing robust connectivity, resilient connectivity, so that people across the country, not only in dense urban areas, but also in the rural areas, have equal access, and there's equity in access is one aspect that has to be addressed. And the other is also the aspect of affordability of all of this. So this is another aspect that's required to be addressed. And that, of course, is being taken care of. The BharatNet project actually tries to address this issue of providing connectivity to all the rural areas of the country, so that they also participate in the digital economy. And regarding affordability, there are some schemes that are there for, like common service centers where you have access provided to people that is there, or taking services to the doorstep. These are some actions that are taking place to provide access to all of these people. Most of the activities when we were discussing at that time were actually related to enterprise level security. But there are also concerns regarding, citizen level security that have to be addressed. Now that digital services are being delivered to people, and more people are, adopting smartphones and doing the financial transactions on that, doing the business transactions on that, it is essential that, we also address the requirements of the citizen-centric service provisioning in a secure manner and a safe manner. So that is another aspect that is to be addressed. The other observation that came about when we came into this era was, the collaboration and communication tools that have to really adjust, because bulk of the business you're doing in a remote way, and the collaboration and tools and this communication tools have to really help in doing ease of business. They should actually help in doing in the ease of communicating and then getting the work done. So I think there's a lot of work that can happen in actually enhancing the features and facilities in these collaboration tools to have, one is helping us in actually, working and then going ahead with this type of working in the hybrid mode, because actually as the pandemic goes around and people realize that there's merit in having work from home, there would be a hybrid mode that would be coming around. And, how to actually have this hybrid mode working is, I think tools would have to come around and then, work and address that. The cybersecurity challenges that we have talked about are not peculiar to, this pandemic-related remote working that has come about. They've been there earlier also, and they continue to exist. And those concerns and cybersecurity issues that are there, they persist, and they would also be there, for the remote working that we are talking about. And have we done something about it? Yes, we are doing something about it. Is the work that we have done adequate? No, I would not say it's adequate. It's a work in progress. And I think there's a lot of thought that's going into it about how to, go ahead and then make it more robust. We start off with the cybersecurity policy of 2013. That was actually a, you can say the moment when cybersecurity consolidation happened in the country. There was some amount of work that was happening in cybersecurity in different organizations and all. But the 2013 policy was the first real effort in actually, holistically thinking about cybersecurity at the national level, and then working out about what requires to be done for cybersecurity in the country. It addressed issues. It talked of, creating a robust and resilient, secure, safe cyberspace. And it actually identifies the different dimensions that are there in cybersecurity. It talked about the cybersecurity governance. It talked about capacity building. It talked about standards. It talked about testing and certification. It talked of collaboration and international collaborations. So, it actually covered a wide variety of dimensions. And post that Cybersecurity Policy 2013, there were many initiatives and that flowed out of it. For example, the office where I work, the Office of the National Cybersecurity Coordinator, was a fallout of a policy statement of that policy. So this was created. Then we have an institution called the National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center. Now, the CERT India actually looks after, incident response across the sphere in the cyberspace. But it was recognized that the critical information infrastructure requires a more thorough or more detailed oversight into that to understand the issues that are involved in that, do a specific sector-specific, critical sector-specific, critical information infrastructure-specific risk analysis, and find out the ways to protect that infrastructure. Now, so the National NCIPC, as we call it, was fallout of the Cybersecurity Policy of 2013. There was also talk of sectoral certs there. It was recognized that though cybersecurity, encompasses everything, there are issues and skill sets that are specific to the sector that were recognized. And it was understood that, considering the country of our size, it would be advisable to have sectoral certs, which not only address the scale of the country, but also address the specific requirements of that sector. So that is one aspect of that. And you would see that, we have sectoral certs created in the financial sector. There's work happening that, it was a budget announcement that had happened. There is a sectoral cert or TSOC that's been created with the telecom sector, and it's been established. Then we have sectoral certs in the power sector, for the generation, transmission, and distribution. So that's another fallout of that. So you find that, and we had a program called for capacity building called the ISCA, Information Security Education Awareness, that came out of the MATI for capacity building. The cybersecurity policy of 2013 had very high, lofty objectives, but one of the missing factors was that clear-cut, deliverables in terms of tangible deliverables were not there. So though we did achieve many things, there are, we realized, after now 13 years, 2013 to now, nearly eight years of the cybersecurity policy, there are certain things that are still work in progress, but there's been a tremendous change in the technological landscape since then. We have digital ledger technologies have come in a large way. IoTs have come in a large way. Then 5G is coming up. Industry 4.0 is coming up. So there are fresh challenges that are coming about. And data security is something that, is really taken off that. The amount of data that's getting generated because of IoT devices and other activities, and the requirement to protect the data, both from the privacy angle, and also, to actually provide systems in place for non-personal data to be, used as a resource for common good, for the welfare for the common good, is another aspect that is there. So with these aspects in place, we have actually started an exercise in, again, doing holistically, looking at the whole, whole of nation approach, taking a whole of nation approach to come up with a cybersecurity strategy. The Prime Minister and the Honorable Prime Minister on August 15th last year, he made an announcement that, we are actually coming forward with a cybersecurity strategy. And this is a work that has started last year, more than a year back, where we started off with consultations both with industry, with academia, and experts, where we had presentations at our organization, and then also put up a portal where we invited comments from people. And then this strategic document has been prepared. It's gone through interministerial consultations, and it's currently with the cabinet for examination and to go through the approval process. So here we actually now we have a vision that now that the earlier policy talked about creating a safe and secure cyberspace, now we are talking of ensuring a safe, secure, trusted, resilient, and vibrant ecosystem for India's prosperity. And then here, actually, it's a holistic view that's been taken, and there is a document also which talks of implementation, and where clear-cut implementation agencies have been identified, and implementation targets and timelines are also identified. Unlike the cybersecurity policy of 2013, this cybersecurity strategy document has got a 5-year time frame, and there are some asks that we have put into this that we want to achieve in these 5 years. So here, what we are basically doing is that we are talking in terms of creating there's a consolidation that we are looking at, because as the sector has evolved over this period of time, you'll find that different agencies sectorally have been doing work. We've got really some robust organizations in the sector. Like, for example, the BFSI sector is a really robust and cybersecurity. Their maturity level is high. Similarly, the telecom sector has also got a very high maturity level. The power sector, for example, was not having a very high maturity level, but recently there have been a lot of initiatives for the last 1 year that have taken place in trying to address that. And as I told you that, they've created this sectoral search for them. And they're also addressing issues of creating institutional mechanisms and then, leveraging the expertise that is there within the service sector. So here, in this cybersecurity strategy, we are actually talking in terms of creating national infrastructure. One is, for example, we have different threat actors who are there. And one is that, we're creating a national threat exchange so that we have a mechanism for exchanging the threat information, threat intelligence with the relevant organizations and with academia also for research purposes, so that they can address the cybersecurity issues of the organizations. We are also working towards creating a national malware repository, so that now currently we don't have that. And you would know that if somebody gets a malware, he would actually maybe submit it to an organization called VirusTotal for getting it analyzed. Now we are creating a national malware repository. Currently, it's a beta version is there, and it's being used internally within the government. And later on, we'll roll it out to the general public also, so that malware samples can be submitted there, and you would actually do an analysis of the malware and come up with solutions for that. So then, regarding this, further, we are also looking at strengthening the different organizations that have been created. Like, the I4C is an organization that was created for cybercrime. The I4C is the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center under the MHA. They have got a cybercrime.go.in is a portal where you can report cybercrime. They've got seven different verticals under that for threat analysis, threat collection, forensics. So this organization is also one that we're looking at really strengthening it. Then we also created a National Cybercrime Coordination Center, which actually would look at gross traffic and then would do a predictive analysis for anticipating cyber attacks. Now, this is an organization that was created after the 2013 policy, and it's at I'll say nascent stage now. They have done the POCs, and now the plan is to roll it across the country and get traffic, national level traffic, to actually protect the national cyberspace. And then, we had some ISACs that were created, like IDEA BT was the ISAC, Information Sharing Analysis Center for the banking sector. So we're also looking at, having, and then there's a telecom ISAC that's been created. So we are also looking at, having sectoral ISACs that would actually help in the industry to share information about cybersecurity best practices, cybersecurity incidents that have happened, and what actually actions they were taking. Then, these are some of the activities that we are looking at coming out of the National Cybersecurity Strategy. Recently, you would have seen that we had major ransomware attacks that have happened. The Colonial Pipeline incident, for example, where the billing system was affected and major fuel shortage occurred in the US, and the ransom was also paid, though some of it was recovered. Then we had the SolarWinds attack, which was a supply chain attack. The Colonial Pipeline attack was a disruptive attack. The SolarWinds attack was an espionage type of attack where data theft took place. And nearly more than 18,000 downloads of the compromised software took place, and many government agencies were also affected in that. Then, we had also had this, the foods attack, where the, food safety was affected because of a ransomware attack on that. When you look at all of those attacks, what we realize is that the underlying infrastructure of all of that is, from, you can say that from the countries from where the attacks have occurred. So just by, when we looked at cybersecurity from our organization, we looked at cybersecurity that there are two dimensions to it. One is that how robust is the infrastructure in terms of the cybersecurity architecture of that? That is important. What are the standards that are being followed? And the other is the source from where these, equipment or the products are coming. That's also important, because whatever testing you do and whatever oversight you do, if an agency deliberately implants, a malware into it, it's very difficult to get to it. So it's important that when you talk of cybersecurity, you address it both from the perspective of having good standards and good best practices, but also look at the source from where it comes. That is, you have a trusted source. So, and that's the perspective I was trying to build when you talk of all these attacks that have happened recently. The equipment has come from trusted sources, but still there were attacks. So I think what is required is to improve the practices that we have. I mean, really increase how we look at the cybersecurity architecture, how we look at security versus ease of doing business. And then that is one aspect that's required to be addressed. And that is a work that has to be really seriously taken into business. And the other aspect is regarding, getting equipment from trusted sources. Regarding the security testing and certification, we have STQC, which does that. And we have also an organization called the National Center for Communication Security that comes up with the security requirements of equipment, and also comes with the certification and the lab recognition scheme. To address the other aspect regarding malicious intent of sources, the government in India came up with the National Security Directive for Telecommunication Sector in December 2020, where the directive got effective from June 15th of this year. Under this, the licensed service providers in the telecom sector would only connect to the networks equipment that comes from trusted sources and which are trusted products. And this actually evaluation of trusted sources and trusted products is being done from our office. So a trusted source is identified. We would evaluate that trusted source from the perspective of ownership, the influence that it has got, the earlier practices, the previous history, and all of that. And a product, we'd also explore that product into terms of the semiconductors that go into it, active programmable components that go into it, and look at those active programmable components. Do they also come from trusted sources? And then decide that whether it's a trusted product. And once that product is declared as trusted product, it's only that equipment that goes into the network. Currently, it is applicable only for the telecom sector. And that is something that started on June 15th, and we are actively working in this area. So to conclude, cybersecurity is a work in progress always. And nobody can say that they have actually been secured permanently or the work that's been completed. But there are a lot of initiatives that are happening. And there's a lot of expertise both in the private sector. And we from NSCS and from the government, we wish to leverage the expertise that is there, indulge in public-private partnerships. We're actually, making this cyberspace more robust, continuously look at new and emerging technologies and evolve measures, institutional mechanisms, processes, and also indulge in capacity building for ensuring, we have a safe and secure cyberspace. With us, I would really thank you for providing an opportunity for addressing all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Nath, for sharing insights with our viewers. Indeed, very informative. Let's proceed further to the next session.